Okay. Um, so a couple big things. I know that there were many of you that were experiencing problems with building for the third person game. So one of the things that we learned, I'll show here in a bit, is that first is Kai is not here. Okay, I can bad not be Unreal for a few minutes. So one of the things that I learned about Unreal is that playing in the editor is not the same as playing on standalone. I don't get that at all, right? And it is what it is, but it makes no sense to me that there would be that big of a difference between the two. So we'll go over, Trenton, thank you again for sending me how to play it as a standalone game, which then actually treats it as if it was built so you can have a better idea of the problems that are going on. Um, so we'll show that. The other piece of the puzzle that literally brought me upstairs at about 1 o'clock in the morning last week, screaming and yelling. My wife was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" I was so pissed off. Uh, is that in blueprints, in the editor, you can use display name. And display name, after running so many, I mean, I've run hundreds of hours of tutorials. I've read through countless pages of documentations over the last 5 years that I've on and off used Unreal for projects. Not one of them ever mentioned that display names only work in editor mode. They do not work in built packages. Why the literal fuck you would design something that doesn't have at least an asterisk on it, like print line does? To
It should say development only. There
it should
functions that say that.
Right. So needless to say, I was not a happy camper. I was ranting and raving. So that honestly is why so many people were having problems with the bill, right? Huh?
Was that?
I don't know, maybe, no?
I said that in my changes, that was one of the issues.
Oh, no, I was trying to do something,
Oh,
and then I found it out, and so I ran into a problem, and I looked up the problem, and like buried in the documentation that I found was one little line that mentioned it. I was just like, I lost my ever loving mind for a good 30 minutes. So that is why most everybody's stuff wasn't working as was, because it works fine in the editor. That's what we were doing. No one was building it. And then we went to not the editor. And so those times that we were looking to see display based on the display name, it just, I don't get it. It's fine. It is what it is. Take some breaths. We will go over a little bit so you could use, and today we're going to do it in our continuation of first person. What it will do actually is we can just track tags. That's probably the easiest way. There's some other ways to do it, but tags is a quick, easy way to do it. Honestly, if tags work, I don't understand why display names doesn't work. But hey, whatever. I didn't make Unreal. I can just bitch about it. So those were the big ones from that. So it is not too late. So if you ran into the problem of this won't build right, it's not playing correctly because of that, and you submitted your project, that's fine. If you didn't submit a video that shows it from the editor view where everything's working and moving as you would have expected, right? You can't even enter the house level the way it's currently at. So if your video doesn't show you actually getting through everything, go ahead. I'm not going to mark you down for being late, as long as you get it to me by the end of the weekend. Just a video from your actual editor showing the full playthrough. Yes.
If when you book the project, if
Now we have other problems, and so that'll be obviously case by case, right? I understand there's nothing you can do because it decided to murder itself. Uh, yeah. So I've seen your projects. I'm not overly concerned-ish, but we'll talk a little bit more about that. Did anybody else have a problem where building it like literally broke the editor
Well,
project?
yeah, I kind of described it where because like I was having issues with the menu screen, so I removed
Right.
it from the index, but
Sure.
it still showed up in the final build. And
Go love it. Yeah. So just do a video that shows it in editor. It's
yeah, that's
perfectly
what I
fine.
did.
Perfect.
For the book.
Yeah. So if you need to do that, please just record a video from the editor mode with everything working as long as it didn't decide to murder itself in the process. And I'll accept that once again through the end of the week. No point deduction for that. We never would have gotten into this situation had, I don't know, it been clear or marked as developer mode only. But hey, that's enough ranting. So let's real quick. Well, we'll just open it up and then we'll just explore a couple things. So, oh, actually, before we get going, let me pause this again. All right. So we have our floating arms. For the most part, you won't see them at all, unless you end up doing an action that causes it. So if you jump, you will actually see the arms as just a slight flutter at a certain point. But if we go to the event graph, we want to go ahead and right click and add a keyboard event. We can scroll down for escape. And then from our escape press, we just want quit game. And then we can compile and save. Without this, there's no quote quick easy way to exit from the standalone player because it once again it's treating it as a standalone game. So if you're doing that, you definitely want to put this into effect. So now when we go, so currently we have just a regular looking play button. If we come over to the three dots, the menu section of that, selected viewport is what's selected. We want to click on standalone game. It is going to start the game for you. It's going to load it as an actual game and standalone. And so now we can play our game. I don't have audio apparently going through tonight. That's fine. That's loud. But now we can actually hit escape and it will take us back to the editor. You know that you're in this. I can't zoom in enough on it. There's a little Nike swoosh under the play. Is the best way I can think of describing it in the standalone mode. So the reason for this, right, is if you ended up doing something dumb like I did, which is not realizing that display names do not work in the actual built games, still not bitter. You would now realize that here because this is now a quote built game, and it's going to be no, yeah, it doesn't work. Yeah,
I will say there is sometimes where that seems to be the case
of course there is.
because it was technically working for some of the things in the standalone game that when I built it still didn't work. So
At least it's a better. So like I was at least noticing that definitely the sliding bricks weren't triggering when we had it set up to make sure that your bullets didn't affect you, it only affected the player, and then there's same way. It became really obvious in this, it had the same problem. So apparently this isn't going to solve all our problems. Yay! But it's at least going to solve a lot. And honestly, the big problem we already now know, which is display names are shit. So
in all reality, you shouldn't be like referencing things by raw strings anyway. It's like that's not a
true.
good practice.
True, but there's times where it's just a little kind of little thing like that's not going to obviously get fully built packaged. Um, I still do it in Unity.
Yeah.
So I know scrap gas. It works in Unity. I don't know.
Perfect my class.
It's still though when it's like, okay, I have a class that's got multiple things that, I need to make sure it's only just one of those. So there are definitely obviously a lot of ways around making it work. Um, 9 times out of 10, I'm a lazy coder.
And then you think, damn it, someone should have stopped me from doing it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 9 times out of 10, I'll cuss myself out. You know better than to do this. This one, I can at least say I didn't know better. I now know better. Okay. Cool. So that at least gets us through that. So as we talked about, the only quote enemy that comes built into the first person game settings is floating arms. I'm really actually surprised that they also don't include the Quinn and Manny mannequins that we get in the third person. The frightening piece of this, um, currently, Unreal's mannequin downloads. So if you choose to start a third person game, they're there and they work fine, even if it's 5.5. But if you want to include the mannequins into a first person game, so as an enemy class, and you go to download it from the Fab Epic Games Store, they only are built for 5.4 and before. so yeah, that was great. So we obviously just don't want disembodied arms to be the enemy in this. Tempting as that is, please trust me. So we need to obviously bring in some form of an enemy to this. So we're going to use this to learn a little bit about creating. If you bring in an enemy that's not fully rigged and everything, how do we do that? So if we we can start it through our adding an object and the Unreal Marketplace, which then just opens up our Epic Games. So we want to go to Fab so we can start exploring. No, piss off, it's fine. If you want to, while you're here, there are a few. So limited time free is a cool jungle biome, an elf something, Arden elf because he's cool. And then a wooden props environment, right? Free couple $100 worth of assets. Why not? We're not going to be using these though. I can at least tell you I did download the Elf Arden, and it's really set up for a player character rather than an enemy. We could modify the hell out of it, but that just seems like a lot of extra work. So if we end up getting here and searching Fishie, Fishie, we should get this cool.
What? I didn't get that. I got fish.
No, you spelled fishy wrong. That's why.
Fishie. So we've got this. I will say, yeah. No.
Yeah, yeah. There's a window in the middle where you can just import straight from that. Yeah, like one button.
Yeah, it's on the console.
So in the Epic Games browser, actually.
Oh, Epic Games browser.
Yeah, you have it. It's right there. Yeah. It's the button that says Fab. It's the Fab button.
Which one?
Right here.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, and then you can look it up there and add it directly in the project.
Oh, very cool. Thank you, sir. So let's see if fishy shows up. Search. Cool. So the other awesome way of doing this is through the fab button. Is that new? Like last couple like month new? Did it? Okay. Tells you how much I pay attention to that bar. So we got our fishy. We're going to bring in fishy, adding to our project. So this might even be some new cool stuff. We should have a skeleton. We've got a gun. Oh, it's got actually the right stuff now. Way better than, interestingly, if you just download the fishy and bring it through, you have to set up the materials because they don't come in correctly. And the little bullfish, it was just a plain glass closed thing. So this is nice. Thank you. All right. Please don't tell me you're going to have the good. Yay, that's positive. So if we drag, we're going to want to, for this, does everybody have fishy downloaded, added to projects? Cool. I could not pass up fishy. We're going to, now I've got so many notes to skip. This is great. We're flying through the day now. Half the class was downloading and getting the materials to work right. We didn't even try the class because it just wasn't there. All right. So inside now our contact fab fishy VDC or VGDC. We're just going to call it fishy folder from now on. We're going to right click as we've done before, add a blueprint class. And we're going to make fishy a character because we want to be able to control its movement, right? We want to move it around as AI, so we'll add a character. As normal, we'll do BP fishy. And then we'll go ahead and open that up. Yep, just a new blank blueprint. We're going to, when you have it opened, we've got our mesh, right? So we'll click on our mesh. And from here in the mesh and details is where we're going to add in our fishy. Oh, how fabulous. Actually, that is ridiculously huge. He's compensating for something. It's fine. Right? So we can just go to, ooh, that will be interesting. Can we have access to?
What do you mean? Because I bet it's a separate component that we just need to move to the right spot.
Right, but it's not actually.
This is a skeleton, but then after that, I can.
This has got now its own problems. This is great. Let's see what happens with skeletal mesh. It still has. There we go. So in the skeletal, if you open the skeletal mesh, apparently we have access to the bubble. Now can we move it? What happens if we decrease the size? We could just get there, and that's probably what will end up happening. But it feels like defeatist to just be like, no, we're just gonna turn it off. Details.
They do have a triangle editor, but then you have to manually move everything.
That sounds horrifying. That is defeatist. It just is. So if we just doing I don't even know where this is at the moment. Okay, that's the fish. We don't need the fish. We want the bubble. But bubble apparently doesn't have.
The bubble is not on its own boat, which makes this so much harder.
Because I don't think that's just. Yeah, that's going to make the fish weird. So let's not. A plug-in for the.
It's supposed to be like right around the fish on the head.
Yeah, it's supposed to just be its little living space.
Oh, okay.
Did you find the bubble?
No, but I'm saying I think the skeleton's not lined up right. If you go to
Oh yeah.
To do this the hard way, anyways.
Are we gonna have to?
my skeleton is like halfway above where the fish is.
Yeah.
Oh, I see that.
Oh, that's fabulous. Oh well, that's just great. That's not problematic at all.
Sure, it looks fine.
I mean, it looks like it's lined up right. You can just lower
It's so weird.
Let's move the whole damn thing. No, that apparently is not an option. We are not moving the bones one by one. Let's. It is literally one at a time. This is great.
If it explains anything, this is also apparently made by college students.
I mean, college students have their issues. It's fine. We're going to.
Hey, I don't know if you noticed about the front part of the mech, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's perfectly natural and fine. Don't look at his front area.
yeah, I mean he's back in here.
Yeah. Although its gun is in a questionable spot. Yeah. What? Okay. Where's that?
More fishy.
Okay.
for you.
You?
You
Use?
check that. Important. Do that for the skeleton as well.
I mean, if it's
And then edit skeleton or this one?
Yeah. So go to this one
This one?
and then just look through some of the animations. Just double click and you'll see what happens.
Oh my god.
I don't see a problem with this. This is definitely how it was expected to be, and how life is for fish people. Oh my god. I think this beats the disembodied arms for horror. Oh, this is amazing.
That's probably the most interesting picture.
Good God.
Most interesting
Preview retarget manager. Update all. Save it. Update all.
Just take the fish out.
Save it. Why not? Does this still do the same thing? It is still having issues. Okay. Fabulous. This is terrifying. So let's so I love Fab that's in the editor. We're gonna actually download download it. So let's close all of these. Uh, that's hilarious. I love this. Make sure that it's not in your area, and then we're just gonna actually delete everything. I'll force delete that. Um, all right. So, from actual fab site, because I at least didn't have the problem, and hopefully it's now not just one of those like yesterday it worked fine and today it doesn't things. That's never happened in my life. We're gonna go ahead and just download the actual fishy. Sure, I've read it and agreed to it. It's fine. We'll download the FBX. You will need to force. Did you close out all
You
the?
can't delete the folder, but you can what's inside of it.
Yeah, just yeah. And honestly, you can leave the folder because we're gonna just repopulate it. So just delete everything from within it. Uh, we're going to go ahead and download the FBX of Fishy. And then we have to unzip it. Extract all. That's fine. And now let's just see if it works. We're going to add to the project, import content to the Fab Fishy folder, and then go to your folder under source. We've got Fishy. We should be able to open that, and that should bring everything in. Okay, let's see if it works. Let's go into our skeletal mesh. Yes, we don't have. Look, gun is in the correct spot. That's positive. It was not supposed to be there. Good. Everything is lined up as it should be. Right? Okay. Whew. Oh, that was horrifying. Okay. Let me go back a couple pages of notes. It's fine. All right. So, does everybody have Fishy downloaded and the correct one installed? No? Okay. I'll give you a couple minutes. Yeah, just Fab. Search Fishy within the actual Fab. Download the FBX. Unzip the FBX folder. Once you have it unzipped, go to Unreal. Click on your add object, import content, import it to that Fishy folder, and then click OK to import. That would get at least a sort of more working. We just don't get to look at the really cool Fishy. Then that's up to you. It's a feature, not a bug.
How do I delete the
For some reason, you can't delete the folders.
Oh,
So
you
do
delete
it,
the stuff
just
inside
delete the
first.
stuff inside, and then we're gonna put everything in there.
So that when you
So just delete the stuff that's on there.
I deleted the folder just fine, but for some reason, the fiction folder that I downloaded from is not showing me. Yeah, it's unzip, and then if I go
There
to
might
my
be an
actual finder. Oh,
Very good. Very good.
thank you.
Yep. Ooh. Who's still downloading Fishy? Okay. Still wish you had picked a different one, apparently. How did you delete it?
No, there's still one. Dude.
Yeah, just click on one of the folder, and then shift click on the.
You drag it.
I need to unzip it. Bro. Okay. Everybody calm down.
So you don't need
Okay.
you're gonna project so far. You're gonna want so you want to
You
add
do also need to switch that side.
oh yeah, I did figure out what this guy was.
Everybody calm down.
So the content browser, you put it where you want to put it.
Always. So well, no, it's like I figured it out. It's just I'm just really creating a store and it just like was not what I did. No.
Is your like laptop in performance mode or whatever?
It's just a lot of new laptop. I said just max with the drive.
I think this first before it's really a fight a lot.
Didn't you want to buy? Like it's really I didn't you want to buy? It's like actually
Oh,
you guys Tim?
No, I don't know one staff before.
I look at the guy I just don't What?
Yeah, it's from 2015.
Oh, very good. No, not that.
And
Is it-
it's hardly.
is it one of the other HD ones? Was it black or silver?
All right, anybody still trying to download the new and improved better-ish working fishing with a gun where it belongs?
I don't know. It kind of
How does
makes sense
how
in
does
spots.
this shit get through? Like, oh boy, it's like I mean, that's a different type of game that we do not teach here.
Bro was combat.
In his hand,
It's actually in the hand.
where it's supposed to be.
Okay. Cool. So now that we have quote fishy here, we do want to update our materials. So if we open up our, let's see, we want to open the fishy gun material and the material. I don't know.
I mean, I got pretty cool with the defaults.
It doesn't look bad, but it definitely looks better the other way.
I mean, like, but like, that's Travis. But...
Sure. Yeah. So if we open up the fishy gun material, what we can do to at least make it look a lot more like the gun, we can click on our content drawer at the bottom. Go to our fishy folder and drag in the. Oh, we're gonna start this now, are we? That is the one we want. We're going to need to get our textures too, apparently. It should have brought in. So we'll just go ahead and import to it. This all came as one thing for me. So select them all. Open. That'll bring the textures in. Oh, why could this not be easy? Let's see. All right, now we can go into our fishy gun content drawer, bring in the gun albedo 2, not number 1, number 2. We can bring this in. We'll disconnect the base color connection, so Alt and then click on them and drag the RGB to the base color on the fishy gun, which should update it nicely. Save it. Oops, it's going. It's thinking. It's trying. Save it, and then we'll do the same thing for the material, but this time we're going to bring in just the fishy albedo 2. Once again, delete the base color connection, Alt-click. Bring the RGB into the base color. Then we can save it. And now if we go to our fishy, he should now have everything but the glass working. We're not going to worry about the glass. This is enough. All right, so we deleted it before, so we're going to quick add it. We're going to right click, blueprint class, add a character. Once again, BP fishy. We'll open up our fishy blueprint. Click on the mesh, and this is where we're going to add fishy into our environment. We're just going to deal with the fact that it's really cold outside and this tank frosted over. We'll just use that as the excuse for this. He's got a heater. It's just not enough to keep the windows defrosted. Or maybe someone tagged it and spray painted him while he was sleeping last night. I don't know.
Yeah, let's protect it.
All right. We are going to with skeletal mesh, we want to go ahead and on our capsule component, we want to make the shape of it to better fit Fishy's large frame. He's been on a diet, but just not enough. So if we set the half height to 130, the radius to 120, that gets us better. And then if we select Fishy on our mesh and drop that down to negative about 130.
What was the other?
130, 120 on the capsule collider for the shape. And then the mesh, just drop it down, pull it down to that. And then if you notice, it's got the arrow to designate where forward is. So we're going to want to go ahead and rotate him 90 degrees so that forward and the forward arrow, facing forward and the forward arrow makes sense, right? We can compile and save this for the moment. So we now have a Fishy, which is great. If we brought Fishy into our environment, which we could do if I hit the right button, right? We now have a Fishy that's here. But as you notice, it's just standing there. It's not doing anything. Yes, sir. Yeah. The transform for here, not the right one, this one. So on the capsule component, it was in the shape section, 130 and then 120 for height and radius. And then on the mesh, just drop him down to like negative 130 so that feet is in that spot. And then rotate him to 90 degrees. All right. But so if we have Fishy in here and we happen to, I'm going to go back for ease of play right now. Go into the viewport. We can sneak up on Fishy because Fishy doesn't have a clue.
He didn't turn it back on usually.
He has not woken up to defrost it and turn them back on. But no idle right movement. There's no animations with this at all. So we need to actually create the animation component for this. And so we're going to, I'm going to back out of this. In our Fishy folder, which doesn't sound right, but hey, whatever. What else to do? We are going to right click. Instead of a blueprint class, we're just going to do an animation. And we want to do our animation blueprint. So we're going to set up how the animations flow through this. Choose Fishy as our skeleton, right? That's what we're going to be tying this all off of. We'll hit create. And as normal way of doing it, we're going to do it ABP. So, ABP for animation blueprints and Fishy. So now we can start actually animating Fishy to do some of the things that it came with, right? In at least a more normal looking way than the other one did. So if we double click on our ABP Fishy, all we have here is this output pose. That's what we start with. And the output pose, normally when we have Unreal, it's we start with a node, right? We get our starter nodes, and then we fill in afterwards of what it needs to do. This is actually the end of the node. So it's going to need to do something in front of this, and then actually move into the output pose. So then it actually sends that animation information out. So what we're going to do, the way primarily the animation, or one way the animation works in Unreal is through a state machine. So we're going to right click here in our animograph, and we're going to do state machine, state space machine, and I'm just going to call it SM Fishy. It doesn't matter what you call it, but this is going to be our state machine. And into the state machine is where we're going to actually put our animations and the changes between that. So if we double click now on the state machine, we actually finally get an entry pin. We got something we can start with. How many of you are used to interacting with Unity's animation one, right?
It's been a while, but
Cool. Perfect. So this actually runs a lot more like that than I was actually kind of surprised that how much it was similar to it, other than we have to add the nodes and everything to it. So from our entry, we're going to drag out and add a state pin. And we're going to name the state idle, right? When the game first starts, we want him to just go into his idle state. We can then double click on it. Once again, we have our output animation pose. So once again, that's going to end our nodes. So if we click over here at the bottom of details, you'll see preview and browser. So if we go to our browser, we can actually go find the idle, which is idle_G, and we can just drag that now onto the graph, and we just connect the people, because that's the way life works. We make people connections. If we compile it, we have here a preview screen of what the animations are doing. So if we compile it, we should have seen him kind of starting to move, but it's fine. We're not there yet, I guess. Oh, it's because we need to go back to our main graph, the anim map, the animation graph. I can't pronounce the short one. We're just going animation graph and connect our state machine now to our output pose. Now, if we compile, we should see an initial run through its idle, right? Right. We're going to get to looping it in a bit, but at this point, at least it's playing that for the first time. We want to go back into our state machine, so we can double click state machine again. For right now, we're just going to focus on being able to have Fishy switch between an idle and a movement animations. So for that, we're going to then drag out from idle. We're going to place another state, add state, call it move. Oops, I don't want to move that. And then we will double click into movement like we did before. Once again, we have our output pose. So we'll do, let's see.
Run G.
We're going to do run aim. We'll do the run aim G. So, nothing's better than Fishy with an attitude aiming his gun at you as he runs around. Why not? So as before, we'll connect the people so that the animations, people are connected. We'll compile this. What are you complaining about? Oh, that's fine. We are going to, so we've got that in there. If we go back to our state machine, we need a way to actually connect. And how do we move between the different states, right? So as you'll notice above the line from idle to move, right? That's the one we put in. We have this two-way kind of arrow looking thing. It really is only a one dimension. So if we hover over that, it's going to say from idle to move. And this is our transition rule, right? So we can set up what are the requirements to move from idle to moving. And then we'll set up one for going back the other way. So we want to double click our transition rule. Once again, we have a result, which gives us our final bit of our nodes. So we're going to build the other direction. One of the easy ways, at least for figuring out movement speed, so switching between an idle and a moving, is getting the actual velocity of said character. And it's going to idle when it's not moving at all, right? But we want it to actually do its movement animations when it's has movement speed, right? It's crazy. Hashtag spoiler alert. Sorry, my bad. So if we actually right click in and get current velocity, oh, where's the velocity? Oh, sorry, that's why. We actually need to create that as a variable first. So we're going to add a variable, current velocity. We don't want it to be a Boolean. We actually want it to be a vector. That way we can measure the vector's movement or it along a vector rather than just looking for an actual speed value. So we can now drag out the get version. So from that, now we can drag off vector length, right? So how long during that frame was the vector? How much movement happened? Then we can drag off of return value greater than. Oops. We could put a value, say maybe we want to make sure that it really only moves out of idle after it's a velocity of 5, but that would actually just have it like hovering and moving, which we don't really want. So anytime it's going 0 or more, right? So we can just leave it to 0. And then we connect our Booleans, right? Is its current velocity more than 0? If so, then trigger that transition as what we've set up. Move from one state to the other.
How did you get current velocity?
So we created it as a variable, named it current velocity, set it as a vector, and then just drag on and then you can get the get or set we wanted get. All right. So we want to compile this. And then we'll go back to the state machine, right? So that covers the transition from idle to movement. But at a certain point, more than likely, your enemies are going to eventually stop moving for whatever reason, right? They've reached the end of their path or the route that they're walking. They've seen the player and they start to attack from distance, whatever that is, right? We're going to eventually probably move from movement to idle. So we can now drag an arrow. So if we drag off this square around move, it'll give us another arrow that we can attach to idle, which now gives us the transition rule for moving from move back to idle. And so from this, we're going to basically do the same thing. So we'll double click on that to open up the move to idle. We're going to once again drag out the get of our current velocity. We're going to get the vector length. But instead of looking greater than, now we want to just see, did it stop? So is the vector length equal to 0, right? Has it stopped moving? Is velocity right now 0? And so if so, then we're going to transition back to idle. Does that make sense?
I figured out how to fix the glass if you want to show someone how to do that. It's 2 steps.
We'll get there.
Okay.
Awesome. With the actual seeing the fish.
Yeah, you just change the glass to make it translucent, and then you make the opacity 0.1, and it works.
Nice. It was just a frosty morning.
Yeah.
Cool. So you compile and save this. We'll do that in just a couple of minutes. Okay. So obviously now we've got the ability for the variable current velocity to be checked. But now we actually have to set the value of current velocity, right? We need to actually make that variable say something other than just 0, which we'll say right now. So if we go now to the event graph on our ABP Fishy, we have two ones here. We have event blueprint update animation, and then a try get pawn owner. So we can drag off of the try get pawn owner and do like we've done before, is valid with the question mark, and just verify that that pawn owner is valid. It's actually should be doing what we're hoping to make it do. And then we'll attach this to our event. So as long, and then also from we want to, from here, from try get pawn owner, we're also going to drag off a second one, and this is going to be get velocity. So from the pawn owner, we want to make sure it actually truly is the pawn owner. And then the other thing we want it to do is, hey, what's your velocity? We need to know. Inquiring minds need to know. And so we'll drag on our current velocity. This time we're going to get the set version of it. We'll connect set to is valid. So we're only going to be getting the velocity and setting the velocity if it actually is a pawn. And then we're going to connect the get velocity to the current velocity. So now it's going to be, as it's playing and moving, it's going to be constantly reporting, is my speed velocity greater than 0, or is it equal to 0? And then depending upon switching the states back and forth. We'll compile that and save it. So what's kind of cool here actually is if we go into back to our animation, we want to, where's my state machine? If we go into our state machine and we click on the preview instead of the browser, we have this default current velocity, right? So it's given us our current. Do you have a question, Owen? Okay. We can actually play with the current velocity. So we can, it's at 0 right now. I can set it to 10. And now it's going to start playing the movement animation. We can change that back to 0. And now we're going to play the idle animation. So without ever actually having to import this completely, we can actually see how the animations respond to different changes, which is great. But once again, our animations just play one round through the animation. That works great if Fishy stands idle for a frame or like a half a second and then just takes one step, right? That's only going to do us so much good. So if we go into the asset browser, let's see, how do we want to get this? We want to go to our idle state, select our animation, and then in the details, we can scroll down, and this is where we can check to loop the animation. So now if we compile, the animation actually loops through that idle animation. So then obviously we can go back to our state machine, go to our movement, click on the movement animation, scroll down to loop, compile it. And so now if we set our preview speed to 10, now it's just going to run. It's going to constantly loop through that movement animation. Align, do you still have a question? No?
I just didn't have the animations didn't import properly, and I had the.
Got it.
You have to preview the animation.
So under the details, we have the preview, we have the browser and the preview. So in the preview, if we now have our current velocity variable, and so we can set this to the values.
Oh, I meant like in the first place, like my animations aren't playing a little tiny browser and all. I think I missed a step from a while ago.
Do you have them looping?
Yes.
Do you
like
have
even before that when I'd like turn on the velocity?
Do you have them connected through in their state machines?
Yeah.
Do you have your transitions set?
Yeah. You have to connect in the base animation because I forgot to do that. Nope.
So then make sure that your state machine is connected to your output post.
There you go. Okay.
Cool. All right. Everybody to this point. Fabulous. Where are we at time-wise?
4:20.
Amazing. Let's see one thing real quick, and then I'm going to give you all a break. We can have an actual break today. We're doing great. Weird, right? All right. Theron, how do we make the glass? So if we go to our BP Fishy,
It's
or what do you
content browser, and you open up. There's a glass material.
Okay, so content browser, glass material. Okay.
And you set so on the left you have to set the blend mode from opaque to transparent.
All right, so if we switch this to translucent.
Translucent.
It's all right.
And then
It just disappeared.
and then you put
Okay.
opacity in the
Here. Yep.
to 0.1.
0.1.
And then you can save it, and then you should be able to see the fish.
So if we save this doesn't work. I don't know. F for the day, Theron. I don't know. If we go here, there he is. All right. Thank you, sir.
I don't think
He's
it's
sure.
as fancy as the one I have on, but
It's okay.
at least you can see the fish.
It works. Yep.
What? Oh,
That's cheating.
actually, I kind of like that better.
All right. Let's go ahead. At this point, let's take a 10-minute break. Be back 4:33-ish. Yeah, I was really confused at there's no things that I can just get in and be like, here's where the fuck is Fishy?
Actually, I kind of like Kai's method better.
Yeah, should we change the
Yeah, if you go into Goofy Fishy, you go to materials and just change it to the default class, and it looks better.
Is it
There's a
just
few default classes, so you can.
which one did you choose? Ooh, it's like got like a water slosh to it.
Yeah, I like
Fabulous.
that.
Yes, sir. I have an answer. I
You
got
could-
fly.
yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, what did they do? They didn't animate the fish. Oh. God, how dare they not put so much time into a free asset? That's so messed up. Look at the fish up close. He doesn't look that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's, it would have been two boats. That was so easy.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
Supposedly it was designed by a university in, it was a game design in some other university. Sorry, I think it was Missouri, but I already forgot. Yeah, so we can blame the other college students.
That just like, like a fish ball. Yeah, and he rolls around and I mean, then that glass, just like the sequel to I Am Bread.
Still,
I hadn't really looked
I
at
said that this one was out. I think that's outside.
right consideration. So that was
but yeah,
I was like trying to do, I'm trying to make it a popular, but I don't know. Like,
I think you can only do that with the Mac. It's the stupid part.
that's what pisses me off is I was very specific on my search to make sure. They told me I could. And I went and bought one. And I plugged it in my computer and I was like, you know what?
There's definitely a way stream to it. Like, okay, this would work. Download Parsec on your computer and the Mac. So run an Ethernet cable to both of them. So you can and then you just stream through Parsec. It's like but I'll look into the Thunderbolt Parsec thing.
I would have
I didn't. I mean, luckily I don't have a video, so I can do it. It's like, yeah. I like project literally, I mean, if we see it ever actually implemented into full change, I think we ever did. Yeah, but
I specifically was like, really
usually use them for bosses. The materials section should be the type. I want to, yeah, because there is so much that can go. How do you sure? Yeah, yeah. Just need to get the like
But you have to have a Mac. Your computer, other thing has to be. I think the Parsec might be weird.
I don't know.
Okay.
yeah, how would
It streams over the internet. So like you have to use Mac OS to just like turn it on. But after that, you yeah, you can stream.
and then I can just like still use the browser.
Yeah. I'm wondering though because I think there might be a free program that does this. I just know. Well, I think you have to pay to a virtual monitor. Otherwise, you can just copy.
Option. Another option would be. Oh, is there oh, Windows only iMac? Windows was it
Can you project this in PC? I don't know why. On the old Yes, yeah. No, any of them before 2020 had the same processor was in PCs, so you could just install it. Do you know if it has a graphics card at all? In some of those old Macs, have like dedicated graphics in them, so they can play games.
It's not like she doesn't know, but it's all like, yeah.
Assuming that.
That's just. My life is always
Right now,
look natural, like, and look at the camera. You're pointing the camera at, like, it's not gonna happen.
the fact that you put in that thing, this is all gonna happen.
Right, exactly.
Client stop this. Client, let's do it. Meetings, people, coordinate all like. So, coordinate stuff. Your mentors, the filming, so you guys are on track and organized.
What?
So there's these, but they're $90. You run software in your Mac, and you plug it into the ROM, it turns it into second.
And so I.
Yeah,
I'll do like a-
yeah, you
like,
plug the little
it's like
dongle
a
into your Windows PC,
Or like,
and then
do
it
it quick
streams.
or like, shoot it back with like, get it all on the floor, like, but beyond that, like, you're gonna cut.
A little bingy.
Right? It's not gonna save nothing on, it's probably not gonna be as good to hear for it, but like.
Yeah.
But even if you're yourself, or a professional department junior, they would still have some.
And that's a one
I'll
time
just not take my
purchase
spot
too,
back.
because there are softwares that go cover this, so you have full scale selection.
And that's like what I'm.
Yeah, and then they did actually charge. That was a one time, but they didn't.
Yeah, they've got the system built, like, they see, like, they can see, anything that they want, you know,
Like someone came in and they looked at it, and they walked around for like 2 minutes.
It's wrong. So wrong. What do you have thought for the people? I've got them, it's like, then we'll be happy to have you guys with us. Okay, so you got a little. Never had one. I'm not. Mostly the like. Well, that's what I'm gonna squeeze the whole. Alright, everybody. Alright, all right.
It's just like random.
Okay, I really know. Buy you food, like, you just go back to the. I get that.
People just like mask, you know, they eyes on it. Just posting both on working.
Wait, it's Windows K on your, because this is the free method that Ty was talking about. That is once you.
Basically, do
Because I have mine set to like broadcast. Mine have work with files. Do you have two Windows PCs?
join our teams.
So
Try doing this in your PC at home. On one of them, do Windows K, and the other do Windows E,
QA.
and see if it takes time to.
Almost beginning of that one.
Because if that works, then you have to do the boot camp thing.
where is? Yes, ma'am.
The whole moving thing.
Yeah.
I have a position where it could run, but I think it needs like I woke up this morning not feeling
I
good.
like my.
That's okay. I'm not seeing go out in class.
That's
It's just slowly getting worse. So if it gets to the point, I'm just gonna
Yep. Call it a day. We need to call it a day. I would rather you not share. You can watch the video. They're so exciting. Which is currently being played, so whoever has to watch the video, you got 10 minutes of downtime.
What's being played?
Sorry, recorded. The our break is being recorded on the OBS, and I'm too lazy to yeah. At this point, it kind of doesn't matter. I guess it does, but not really.
It's 10 minutes to skip, like it's fine.
It makes you feel like things are going faster.
Yeah.
Let me see.
So good.
Sorry,
They really just named them.
Keegan, did it finally?
Yeah.
That's also why you try.
Hold on. Windows K. Apparently there's an add-on.
I read it like off when
Oh, wait,
there's
Charles
no
is done. It's still loading. It's probably out. I thought it'd be
Oh, look, it's already. No, what time do we start? We're back to 33. Look at that. We're already taking way too long. All right. Now let's actually do something with this. All right. Let's can go over here. So, where are we at? We've got that. Okay. So if we can close all of our animation stuff, our materials that now work fabulously. We don't need our animation blueprint anymore. All right, that gives us some fun things. So, place Fishy somewhere in the wild's dangerous area of your half of the map. Because he's a really bad guy, but really loves fish flakes. I don't know. That would be like the moment he just goes to that. So if we go into our BP Fishy in our event graph, we're going to, we'll keep the event begin play, but we can remove the other two. And to start with, we're just going to make Fishy be able to just kind of explore their area, right? Wandering around, protecting their environments from the big bad floating arms, apparently, that the player is. So we can go ahead and start by creating right-click, custom event. And we'll just call this one Explore, right? So Fishy will just explore their little environment through this. As we did before, so we're not worrying about doing a behavior tree with this. We've already started covering behavior trees. So all we're going to do on this is from the Explorer, we're going to do like we had done before. We're going to do AI move to. From our pawn, we're going to drag off a reference to self, right? Itself is moving. For destination and exploring, we're going to drag off destination, and we're going to do get random reachable point in radius. So we're going to have to, in a few minutes, we're going to add the nav mesh, right? Because obviously the AI can't move without the nav mesh, no matter how much we beg and plead for it to move that way. And so with this, when it starts exploring, it's going to just randomly pick a spot that it can actually move to within that nav mesh within a certain distance from where it currently is. So we want to set our origin to get actor location, right? Because we want that radius to be around fishy itself as it moves through. When it picks its new location, it's going to pick another radius based on itself. And then we'll just set the radius to 5,000. This might be not enough for yours setup. This might be too much for yours. You're going to have to play with this number to have it see where it shows up. So that gets us connected on the destination. The target actor is going to be itself. We'll set the acceptance radius to, I don't know, we'll set it to 50, I guess, which is like a half a meter. Yeah, acceptance 50. And then from our on success for the AI move to, we'll just add a delay. As we've done before, we'll set the delay to 2 seconds. It's just going to just go to a spot, stop for 2 seconds, and then find another spot. Currently for this, we're going to set on fail to also go to the delay rather than setting up something for it to do for that if it happens to fail its movement. So this now sets up, we can compile this. This now sets up a exploration, right? If Fishy's on its own, it's just going to explore. We can verify that that all works by going back to our first person map. I'm going to shrink my browser down a bit so I can see better. Right, let's go ahead while we're here. We'll click on our add to the project and we'll do our nav mesh bounds volume, which always gets set in a really weird spot. So bring it, drop it down to where it should be. Oh no. Well, that's terrible. Shit. Somehow my cursor got reset from my old person cursor. So now I can't see it again. So now we're back to this again. This is just ridiculous. So we just want to make sure that our bounds actually cover our area. And this is always fabulous. That's close enough. And then make sure that it's up. All right. So now we have bounds. We can save the whole project. And now if we play, I'll just grab the gun for good measure. Is that blue brick? Oh, haha, not moving because it would be helpful in our BP Fishy to, on our begin play, add explore. It was not doing anything because we didn't tell it to do anything. So now when we have it start up its play, it's going to go straight into explore. So now if we go back in, right, yep. So it's now in a different spot. scary looking. Right, we want it to now explore constantly. So if we go back to our fishy, and after our display, or actually, we're going to get to that in a minute. Hold on. Hold that thought. We're going to actually, let's build our other function. So we have explore, and then we want it to be able to chase the player, right? If you get too close to it, we want fishy to chase you. So we can, very similar to what we just did, we're going to add another custom event. We're going to call it follow player. We're going to basically do pretty much what we just did. We're going to drag off follow player and do our AI move to. Hey, my family just ordered Pizza Hut apparently. Right. Right. From the pawn, we're going to get a reference to self like we just done. Destination, we're going to leave alone, but our target actor, we're going to drag off and get player character. Right? We want it to actually chase and follow the player. If we get too close to fishy, we're going to set the acceptance radius for this to, let's call it 200. About 2 meters away, so that way it can follow us nice and close. We'll do what we did before on success, pull off a delay. So if it gets to within that 2 meters of us, it's going to do a 2-second delay. Actually, let's just change. Let's have it shorter wait. Quarter of a second, 0.25. Why not? Mix things up. And then connect the on fail back to the delay. Okay. So as we already just noted, right, fishy is going to move once and I'm done. I've had my day's work. I get to go home, clock it in, right? Not what we want fishy to do. We want fishy to constantly be moving, exploring, and then chasing us if we are within range. And then if we get out of range, goes back to looking around the environment. So we're going to handle this through a distance check. So we're going to add another custom event. Custom event, we'll call it distance check. I can't see. Distance check. So much like we would do in Unity, C#, or we would do the vector 3 distance to see how far apart they are. We're going to do the Unreal Blueprints version of that. So we're going to first drag off a branch because we love branches and it's been a while since we've done one. From our condition, we're going to drag back off of that a less than or equal to. And we're going to, from our, so once again for these, we have our A parameter wildcard or B wildcard parameter. So from the top one or the A, we're going to drag off distance vector, which gives us a vector 1 and a vector 2. We'll fill that in a second. We're going to check and see if the player is within 5 meters of fishy, right? Up in its face. He can't ignore you anymore. He's got to chase you. So we'll set that to 500, not 5,000. We're going to, from vector 1 and vector 2, we're going to drag off get actor location. So we can do it once with it selected, Control D, and connect the same thing to V2, which is fabulous. But off of our V2. So we have target self, which is obviously Fishy, right? Fishy is who the self is. We now need to set not target self for the other one. So that'll be the player. So we can just drag off target, get player, character. Right? So now we're checking the distances between Fishy and the player. If it is less than 5 meters, something's going to happen. What is that something? Fishy's going to kill you. So from our true, we're going to drag off follow player. And surprise, surprise, false, we're going to drag off explore. So now what we can do, once again, right, we had it set up that Fishy only did one thing and one thing only. Now from our delays on our explore and follow player, we're going to, each time we get to that point, we're going to do a distance check. Duplicate it, bring it down, and connect. So anytime Fishy completes what it's doing, it's going to run a distance check. Should I be continuing to explore or should I be chasing the player? I'm glad it makes sense. It's amazing. All right. Compile, save. Everybody to this point. Yeah, amazingly. All right. So if we click on our BP Fishy self in our components, we're going to solve the problem that we had last time of the named components. So we're going to actually set up a tag for Fishy, right? So we can, in our details, go ahead and search for tag because sometimes shit is hard to find. This now brings up everything related to tag, which is great. So under actor, we're going to add a tag to actor, and we're going to name it enemy. So tag, the actor version of the tag, add the tag in there, set the tag to enemy. So sorry, Fishy, you're an enemy. I don't know what we can do for you. But we want to be able to kill Fishy, right? Like, if we can't kill Fishy, it's just not worth it, right? He's an enemy. We got to kill him. So we'll compile this. We can click on our capsule component. Then we'll click add. And we're going to add a capsule collision, which should just come up as collision or capsule in your list. So this is going to be the collider to make sure that we shoot Fishy and Fishy dies, right? So with capsule selected, we'll if you haven't already, we can X out the tag so that we get everything back in details. As before, we're going to change the shape. This time we'll set it to 55 and 55, which is just going to create an overlap, basically the same as what we had done before. If we go to our viewport, it's going to be the same overarching.
It's not on my end.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not. That's great. Let's make it bigger. Let's just make this guy bigger. The fun of, once again, doing this at home and doing it here. So let's get it closer. 120. 120-ish and 120-ish. That's pretty close. It's good. At least gives us enough of a spot to work from. Obviously, if you wanted this to become really accurate, you could put a collider just around his arms, right? Tracking that, you could put something over just the glass fishbowl. So if you hit him there, it does like an instant kill. Whereas if you hit him in the legs, it takes longer, right? You can dial that in as you go. For this, one shot kill. We don't care about Fishy. He's a weakling.
Mine was like an alien robot now, so
Interesting.
yeah, that's just way I messed around with materials.
That's fair.
So, yeah, I don't feel too bad about.
I think it's great. Okay, so now we have a collider around Fishy to verify if he's going to get hit. We need to go back. We'll go back to our third person map. If we go to our, where are we at? It should be under first person blueprints. We have the BP first person projectile. So we'll open that up, which is his own crazy nest of problems. We want to select the sphere in the components. And then we want to scroll down details just a little bit to collision and have simulation generates hit. So when it collides, we want it to actually say it hit something. And so then we do have quote an on hit function, but we don't need it because in our event graph, we have an event hit. It's already there. It's a different version of it, but it works the same. And so from our other actor from the event hit, we're going to drag off actor has tag. So unlike our display name, now we can just check to see, does this have a tag? And this continues over perfectly fine, which we can now set our tag to enemy, spelt exactly the same way you did in the tag on Fishy. Spelling counts. And then from event hit, we come to a branch that doesn't currently have a false. So from our false, we're going to drag off another branch. We're going to go ahead and connect the actor has tag to the results of this branch, right? So we're wanting to check, I'm a bullet. Did I hit something that has that on there? Is my pizza out for delivery? Oh, my pizza's out for delivery. Amazing. So from the new branch, from the true, right? We have something that's got the tag enemy that we've hit. True means it's Fishy. So from true, we're going to cast to BP Fishy. We're going to compile for, well, I guess we can't compile yet. We're going to hit compile and say error, which is fine. We want to jump back real quick to BP Fishy and to the event graph. And we're going to just real quick find an open spot, add a custom event, and we're going to call it damaged. Because eventually Fishy is going to turn into damaged goods. Poor Fishy. This one will compile. We can go back to our projectile. And now as BP Fishy, we can type in damaged. And that's going to call the function on Fishy saying, hey, you got hit. This is the bullet realizing it hit something that it's supposed to hit. So now we compile and, oh, that's right. We need to also, we'll just, from our event hit other line, I'm just going to double click on it to create a node, bring this up a little bit, and then connect that node to the object of cast to BP fishy, right? We need to make sure that it's actually casting to what it should be casting to. Now when we compile, we get rid of our errors. So if the bullet hits something with the tag enemy, in this case, the tag enemy is just going to be connected to fishy. Then we're going to say, do the damaged event. And from damaged event, we're going to just drag down and connect it to the destroy actor that was already in our blueprint. So if it's fishy, if you hit something as a bullet and it's an enemy with an enemy tag, send it to the damaged event on that character and then destroy the bullet that hit it, right? Compile, save. We'll pop back to BP fishy and finish off now our damaged. So when fishy dies, we want a new fishy, right? I mean, that's the reason why you kill fishy is you need more fishies. So we're going to, from damage, we're going to drag off spawn actor from class. It originally spawns in as a node that is spawn actor none until we actually set that up. So we're going to add the class BP fishy, right? So now we're going to spawn a BP fishy. In the collision handling override, we don't want it to always spawn, even if there's a collision. We want to instead try and adjust the location, but always spawn, right? So if it's too close to something, move over just a little bit when you spawn so that we're not just overlapping, colliding with something else, as long as that's possible. Worst case scenario, just spawn. Okay. And then we want to say where fishy is going to spawn. So we're going to, from the spawn transform, we're going to right click on it, split the pin. If we wanted to actually spawn a tiny baby fishy on there, we could, right? We could set the spawning size to a different value. So then like a little one's just running around. We're going to, right? Yeah, they could split. You got it. We're going to leave it at 1. We're going to replace a fishy with a fishy. For our transform location, we're going to actually split that pin. And we're also going to split the transform rotation. All right. So at least the way mine is, and we can verify this, first person map, I can click on BP fishy and see that his location is 80 in the Z. So I'm going to set the spawn transition location Z to 80 because that's the height that he is spawning, that he's at. So I'm just going to spawn him with that height. And then this takes usually just some playing with. So with fishy, you can kind of move into your directions. So we're going to, oh shit, I can't see again. We're going to, I want him to spawn about here, which is roughly 5,000 to roughly, so we'll call it 5 to 3,000. So we can come in here to our X. We're going to drag off of our spawn transform location X to a random integer. Where's my integer?
Or it's a float pin. Can we not put an integer in?
That's great. We'll do a random float. It's fine. Within a range.
Well, I found it. You have to turn off context.
Okay. It's fair. Floats are fine too. So this gives us a range that a random number is going to be picked between. So we'll set the minimum to, I'll just give it a smaller spot, 3250. This is what, once again, works for my space. What your wild space is going to be different than mine. So figure out those values. And I'll set it to, I don't know, 4750. So that should fall now into my X. Into my Y, we'll come back and say, I can't see. All right, we've got roughly, I'll call it 6,000 to 3,500. Why not? So drag off another random. Float between. $3,000. I think it said 5,000. Sure, it'll be fine. So now we have it randomly spawning somewhere in there. But we can also go ahead and randomly have its rotation set. So where is it looking? So this will be our Z. We can once again drag off a random float range. And we'll just leave it 0 and 360, right? So it's somewhere it's going to be facing in one direction. If you are in a spot where you don't really care where it's facing, you can actually, let's see, where is it? Spawn. We split this. We can actually just drag off a random rotator, but that's literally going to have it do all three directions rotations, which then would have potentially him upside down on his head or laying on his stomach backside, right? We don't actually want that, but if you were building something with an enemy that would work for that, right, something in space, you can have it completely go in that way. All right. We've got that. Got those. All right. So then from our spawn, so what this is going to do, when fishy is damaged, it's going to spawn a new fishy, and then we're going to destroy the current fishy. We don't like the one we just killed. We're going to kill him, but we're going to, if we destroyed him beforehand, then that ends the code, and now we can't spawn another one, right? So we want to make sure that we do that. Okay, so let's find the problem. So we've got fishy here. I'll pull him more into the middle again. If we come in, we grab our gun, because how else are you going to go fishy hunting? Fishy is really moving fast, and for some reason we aren't animating correctly. We'll figure that out in a minute. If we move within range, then we're being followed. When I shoot fishy, I get a new fishy, but fishy's not doing anything. I can shoot fishy as much as I want. He's just going to stand there and take it. That's obviously not what we want. So if we go back into our BP fishy and we click on self, we want to search for auto possess. So we have auto possess AI. Currently, it is only set to when the AI is placed into the world, will the AI be automatically possessed and do what it's supposed to do, right? So that's great for Fishy 1, but Fishy 25734 is not going to do anything. We could have it where we choose it to where fishy only is possessed when spawned, which would be an option if you're just starting spawning them rather than putting any in the world. So if we did this, we'd have to shoot the first one for then one to be spawned and then be possessed. But thankfully, we have the when fishy is placed or spawned. So if we compile and save that, now we still have to fix the movement issue, which we'll look at in a minute. But now, run, fishy, run. Of course. Where did you go? Probably need to change his dimensions a bit. But now when we have a new fishy that spawns, they automatically are possessed and do their possessed walk, obviously, at the moment. All right.
We just didn't set the animation blueprint of the character.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. So if we go to our BP fishy, we want to just set our animation class for fishy to the ABP fishy. Compile, save. I'm going to shrink my spawn areas just a little bit, which should fix some of this. We'll just set it to 37.5 to 42.5. It can be smaller. It doesn't matter. 3,500. 4,500. And I'm going to actually have it spawn just a little bit above. It should then fall. All right, let's see if that did it. Grab the gun, shoot the blue box because they're here. Now fishy is actually doing their animations. It's kind of terrifying that he's just like, I'm going to run with my gun pointing out. So now fishy just really thinks I'm a jerk. Shoot him, kill him, spawn another one. What's up, buddy? We don't have it breaking in between. No, not at the moment, but we could. Those are things that could easily be added, but we did it on the other one.
Wait, what did you fix the animation?
So in the BP fishy, under BP fishy, you want to set the animation to the class BP, ABP. That's why we had to build it. All right. Questions? Did everybody make it this far?
Like, so far, but nothing. Yeah, like I still have like the same problem. It's not really. I changed the animation thing and not.
Look at it.
Yeah, around
So at this point, that's where we're getting today. I wanted to make sure we actually got through stuff and didn't have things left over, which yay, we did. Let me stop recording.